Easy.
眩しかった日のこと、そんな冬の日のこと。
On suicide? Oh,
確
Jesus.
かに幼い頃から丈夫な方じゃなかった。
Ever since I was a child, I wasn't on the healthy side.
ニパーニパーニパニパニパーニパーニパー。
But even so, I went to grade school normally. During summer vacation, I played until I was tan very dark. Soon after entering middle school, the day after we ordered swimsuits for a swimming class that would start next month. That time was the first time I experienced being admitted into a hospital. Aww. Just a little before the first semester midterms, a day where the rain that just started to fall felt awfully cold. In the midst of the pure white sky of the rainy season, in the beginning, everyone in the class came to visit me each day. When I was discharged from the hospital during the weekends, they would come by my house to play, but that was just in the beginning. Fall came, winter left, hospitalized, discharged, outpatient care, and then starting again with hospitalization. Classmates who were once called friends at some point became acquaintances, and then turned into strangers. With each turning of the seasons, it seemed that I was disappearing from their memories.
どうやらいい気がしないらしい。普通に生きている人にとって私の存在ってのは、だから消されたようだった。いくつもの季節を、白い梅雨空を、誰とも言葉を交わす必要もなく過ごした。
Sorry, I'm still figuring out all the sounds and oops. It's a little wonky. I'm just still figuring out the sound settings. Go back to options. What else is there? I wonder why this is called Narcissu. I don't know. Speed settings. Text speed. Font setting. Oh! You can change the font to whatever we want, guys. What font should we do? I know why. Why is it? What font should we do? I don't know what any of these fonts look like. Should we do Comic Sans? They don't have Comic Sans. Narcissu is a flower? Oh. Why do they have webtoons? Dang it. I like this font. We'll do that. Oh, everything got weird. Actually, I like the other one. We're going back to, what was it, Georgia? Where's Georgia? Where'd it go? Uh-oh. I know, I like papyrus. I love the thick letters. There's history why the flower is called Narcissu. I've always been a fan of trebuchet, normal trebuchet. Oh, okay. Let's read italic. Oh, that's too hard to read. Here, this is easy to read. There we go.
私の英語の教科書は1
Oh,
年
it's
生
cut
の
off
中間テス
though.
ト以降まっさらな状態だった。
I need to go back to the... I shouldn't have changed it. Why did I change it? Okay. Let's go. There we go. My first year. What is this font? Georgia save. There we go. This one isn't cut off.
そこで私の時間も止まったらしい。
Stage Nana. Early 7/24. 8 years later, 2004 early summer protagonist. Summer, flowing sweat. In the driver's license examination area, there is a large electronic bulletin board installed. All at once the lights came on. Like everyone else there, I searched for my own number. 237, 237. Scanning among the mostly lit light panel, I found my own examination number. Ka-thunk, ka-thunk. Because it was just past midday, the train car was quite empty. And in that empty car, I was on the way home from the examination center. In my left hand was the traffic regulations manual I just received. In my shirt pocket, was a brand new license. With this, I'm also normally licensed, eh? I murmured somewhat seriously, but didn't feel any particular strong emotion. It's not like I wanted to drive cars, nor did I really have another purpose in mind. It was just people around me were going to the training center and they recommended that I at least get a driver's license. That night, I reported to my parents that I had gotten my license. Oh sure, was the short reply. As an experiment, I tried asking to borrow the car, and just as shortly came a "you can't." It wasn't like I had wanted to drive the car, but the responses were exactly as I had imagined. They were those sorts of parents. The next day, upon waking up, my chest turned, so I was taken to the hospital. Normally, I had little to do with sickness. That was why waiting in the initial waiting room felt extremely boring. Finally, just when I thought the examination was over, this time I went to take x-rays and blood tests, was made to go. On top of that, for a long time, I was made to wait in boredom. Without noticing, I finished reading 3 books of jump manga in the waiting room and was reaching for a 4th. Just like that, I was made to do the paperwork for being admitted into the hospital. The brand new driver's license that still lay in my shirt pocket. It looked like the time for its debut was far off. Protagonist, 2004 autumn. Around when those very noisy cicadas had stopped crying. As usual, I was in the hospital. Of course, it wasn't like I was always admitted in the hospital. I would be in and out. Last month, I had my first experience with surgery. After being discharged, I commuted 5 minutes for 8-patient care by scooter. And even from then on, admitted, discharge, outpatient care, gradually moving from being admitted again. I didn't know anything about PET or ERESA, but I noticed through the comings and goings that a number of months have passed. In exchange of my decreasing appetite, these types and amounts of drugs increased. Even I could see with my own eyes that my strength was declining. My legs felt a bit thin, but that's not your imagination, the needle on the scale would tell me. And yet, I was looking at myself somehow objectively, as watching a stranger, looking at a single scene on a television. The sudden things that happened to my body, my head couldn't keep up with them. The feeling that what was happening was real didn't arise, and so even though it was supposed to be my own body, I could only watch myself from afar with cold eyes. In the winter. A winter day. Around when Christmas trees were disappearing from the streets. Perhaps it was the end of the year, but I was allowed to return home. In the end, it seemed to only be temporary, but even then I was a bit happy. Mix of rain and sleet, I returned home for the first time in a while. For some reason, everyone in the family was gathered. Even though my parents normally didn't speak much, while being a bit stiff, they smiled at me. The little sister who I always argued with made my favorite cream stew and fried shrimp. We sat next to each other in the kotatsu. They peeled mandarins for me. They were excessively kind. That made an impression. During this time, I had just a bit of realization. Still left in the pocket, my brand new license. The license not giving rise to any practical value might expire. While having stiff, unnatural smiles directed at me, calmly, vaguely, rather simply, I thought of that, as if thinking of someone else. January 2005. The new year passed and I returned again to the hospital. On that day, for some reason, I didn't go to the 4th floor, but instead to a conference room and was made to go. There, with my father and a doctor, I heard many things, was made to listen. It was that thing called notification, I guess. They had an extremely indirect way of speaking, but in the end, it seemed like I was going to die. I see. And so I was only able to reply with that. I couldn't find other words. From when I entered until I left the room, that was all that I said. Hearing my answer, the doctor quickly wrote with the ballpoint pen in his hand. It's likely it was the paperwork for the hospice. To the very end, he was very businesslike. My father was very much the same. It was such a simple thing. That was my honest impression. And then between that day and the next, I changed from the 4th to the 7th floor, from a 6-patient room to a single. And also the 7th floor itself was a bit different from the other floors. For one thing, the floors were sparkling. The ceilings were much higher and more expansive. Inside the rooms was extremely clean, and large windows seemed designed to let lots of sunlight. However, the windows only opened a tiny bit. When I tried to measuring it, it was just slightly smaller than would allow your head to pass through. Also, the color of the ID bracelets changed. Since this day I was admitted, a vinyl bracelet was always wrapped around my wrist. Upon it was my name and blood type. The color had changed from blue to white. High ceilings, white vinyl bracelets, or vinyl bracelets. Windows that could only open 15 centimeters. The day I was transferred to the 7th floor, it was when boring New Year's programs were still being broadcast. The time I met her for the first time was also at the very beginning of the year.
Narcissus. 冬7階
The 7th floor. Across the hall, facing the nurse's station, was a lounge-like place. Left in an unpopulated place were a number of sofas, folding chairs, and a large television. On the 28-inch CRT, oh my god, Steins Gate reference, the 7th floor said. A meaningless New Year's program was running. Steins Gate. Watching that boring television with an equally bored expression was some girl. She had a small build and wore pink pajamas. Her wrist had, just like I did, a white bracelet. Hair that went to her hips left an impression. Hey you, is that interesting? There wasn't any particular deep meaning to it. Since there was no one around, I tried speaking to her profile. That was all that she replied with. She didn't even turn towards me, even though I had spoken to her. Perhaps she had absolutely no interest in me. She continued to gaze at the television with a bored look. If it's boring, you don't have to watch it. As I thought that, I also sat down in a folding chair, and sitting next to her, I gazed at the television. There was nothing else to do, nothing else I could do. In silence, we continued to gaze at the television. On the screen were the usual New Year's programs, pathetic impersonations and parlor tricks, occasionally ringing out the host's stupidly high-pitched laugh. In the pure white, sunlit room, it dryly reverberated.
ねえ、あなた。
Suddenly, the girl spoke to me while still gazing at the
あなた
television.
何回目
Which time? What does that
こ
mean?
こに7階に来たの。
Sorry, I don't understand the meaning of the
そう
question.
初めてなんだね。
Seemed that at my inability to understand what she was saying, she had unilaterally came to that conclusion.
じゃあ他に誰もいないし私の役目だから
Duty.
そういうルールなの。
While nodding, she added that there's a rule for someone to teach people who first come here to the 7th floor. Right now, I knew nothing about what any of this was, and as if ignoring me, the girl slowly began
それ
speaking.
じゃあよく聞いてね。
They were slightly different compared to the doctor's speech that I had heard up until coming here. They were slightly different compared to the doctor's speech that I just read that. In the business-like speech from the doctor, it was said that this was a place to await the advancement of the medicine. It was also called a place for healing the heart. Most likely, broadly speaking, that was probably correct. However, from what the girl said, that was a facade. The 7th floor was within the hospital, but was the only place that didn't give treatments. Simply a place to wait for the end of life. That's what the girl said. That's what I also felt. I had the same perception.
私
Second time, what's that? And the girl taught me. This place called the 7th floor, to be here from the moment of admission all the way until dying, first of all, apparently didn't happen. Even if being cursed was impossible, your health becomes better, then they would allow you to go home once. But after a while, and your condition worsens, and once again you come back. Among those comings and goings, eventually you die. The place where life ran out, it only varied between home and the 7th floor. Unfailingly, one would die either here. In either of those, it seemed no one had ever escaped that. It was with that meaning the girl said it was her second time.
じゃあ一度しか言わないからここからはよく聞いて。
Why did I laugh? Laugh at what? I don't remember. I thought that too. Still looking at the doll screen, the girl continued speaking even more. The subject wasn't about what time the lights would be out, the normal sorts of topics exchanged between admitted patients. She taught me about totally different things. On the 3rd time you're given a temporary discharge, prepare yourself. There's never a 4th. You won't be going home anymore. If there's a time that you want to run away, go not to Station A, but towards Station B. Don't eat anything. That's the shortest path. It will end with the least burden to your family. It was all full of these sorts of topics that would make one pause. Most likely it was only the people who came to this place, only among those who moving towards death. These were the things they continued passing down. Was it duty you mentioned this?
そうよ。いつかあなたも初めて来た人には伝えてね。
Those final words, the girl slowly stood up. Gently, her long hair swayed and brushed the tip of my nose.
じゃあ検温の時間だから。
And then, just like that, with her back facing me, she began walking towards the hall. I was left alone in that place with the laughing voice from the screen and the white flowers decorating the window. In the end, the girl never once looked in my direction. She probably doesn't want to get attached. From then, after a few days had passed, finally the New Year's programs ended. Soon the middle and high school, their terms would be studying. Oh yeah, I forgot I can't alt-tab when I'm playing this. Today in the lounge, once again, the figures of a girl and I were staring at the television. It's boring, isn't
そう
it?
ね。
The world came back in reply, but both of us were conversing while continuing to gaze at the screen. Hey, is this place always like
質問の意味
this?
がわからない。
Oh, I meant how there's no one around. Nurses, doctors, the helpers. If you take them out, then aside from our attendants, I had never seen anyone else. Program itself exhibits Narcissu behavior, only look at me. I guess because it's the New Year's.
その理由を知りたいの？
I know it's not like I meant
じゃ
that.
あ言わない。
An exchange that wasn't even a conversation, we indifferently passed back and forth. A slight breeze from the window that couldn't open more than 15 centimeters. Occasionally it would sway the girl's hair, and in the same way it would sway the white flowers decorating around the windows. Two of us, while watching the boring television, were only spending days passing time. Oh, the two of you are in a place like this? Saying that while rushing up was an elderly nurse. From just glancing at the nurse's station once in a while, this person seemed to be the chief of the 7th floor. So, Setsumi-san, you don't have a
大丈
fever?
夫。出てない。
Setsumi. Apparently this was the girl's name. You can't go roaming about outside anymore, okay? Alright, everyone gets worried.
別にいいよ。
My, what kind of statement is that? Really, girls these days, there's just no helping them. For a while more, the nurse continued nattering on. To that she, the girl named Setsumi, let go by with an indifferent expression. I was actually gonna guess that she was a ghost, but someone else is talking to her. Oh. As if ignoring the slightly noisy nurse, she continued watching the boring screen in front of her. Okay, done. Later I'll come to test your blood, okay? With those final words, once again the nurse returned back to the nurse's station. Hey you, I mean I can call you Setsumi, right? Wrapped around the girl's wrist was the white vinyl bracelet. While looking at the blood type and name there, I asked, "Is something wrong,
どうして
Setsumi?"
呼び捨てなの？
What?
年下のくせに。
Hey, why am I the younger one?
別に。そう思っただけ。
It wasn't that I was upset at the word younger. I was just, no matter how you looked at it, one would believe I was 5, 6 years older. That was why I took out the license that was in my chest pocket and showed it to her. How about it? Even though I look like this, I'm 20, you know.
やっぱり年下よ。
But just a glance at the license, the girl gave only that reply. Hey, I don't
ど
really
うでも
get
いい
it.
じゃない。少し上なだけよ。
Slowly she spoke softly and with no expression. Those eyes, while always looking at the dull television, also felt like they were looking at someplace far away. Around when the morning temperature taking ended, I got onto the elevator, trying not to be seen by the nurses. Coming to the first floor, deliberately passing through the entrance for the outpatients, just kept walking out the hospital. Destination was the place I was taught before, not the nearby Station A, but the far by Station B. Wasn't like I was planning on running away. 7th floor home, there was no one who died outside of those two. That was what I heard before. Also, it seemed that the girl called Setsumi had gone many times to Station B. That was why, for no real reason, I simply felt like wanting to go see that place once. It's not like there's any guards around. Even so, us residents of the 7th floor were different from other admitted patients. While also thinking about just maybe, I continued walking on the street to the early morning station area. Glancing at the hurrying commuters and people going to school, I slowly moved on at a leisurely pace. After walking a bit, taking about 25 minutes, I finally arrived at the station. In terms of bus stops, it was about 4's distance. There's a fair bit of people around. That was the first impression upon seeing Station B. Because my clothes were pajamas, I stood out somewhat. However, if just like that, I bought a new train ticket without a single problem, I felt I could go anywhere. Why was it not Station A but the Station B that was recommended? I didn't know. However, if one were planning to run away, I thought it was a simple thing. The girl was also supposed to have come many times, but why was it she still remained at the 7th floor even now, I wonder? Early morning before the station, while watching the people hurrying by, suddenly that thought occurred to me. That night, after the lights had been turned off, holding onto a book of manga, unable to sleep, I wandered about the ward alone. Normally, wandering around after lights out would get one scolded badly, but us residents of the 7th floor were given a relative amount of freedom. And with the lights off, the usual lounge was pitch dark. There I saw her figure. Hey, today you're looking outside? In the dark room, there was a response, but that face remained and looked beyond the window. Immediately, I started talking about what happened during the day. That reminds me, this morning I went all the way to station. Just like you told me, I went to see Station B. But the girl's response was no different from the usual. Because she was supposed to have gone before, I had thought that there might have been some kind of reaction, but thinking about that as well as how the girl still remained here, did it mean that she really had no intention of running away?
私、もうすぐ帰れるの。
Eh? Suddenly the girl opened her mouth. Words as if she had seen clear through to my heart just now.
でも、次で3回目だから、もう会えないかもね。
That's right. Most likely when she said that she would be able to go home. She was talking about a temporary discharge. And this place called the 7th floor, to be admitted more of these times, apparently never happened. Especially unlike the elderly, when considering the rate of progression of disease, it was even more so for younger patients like us. That kind of meaning it came the words, we won't meet again.
あなたはどちらを選ぶの？どっちで死ぬつもりってこと？
Suddenly hearing the word death, my words caught for just a moment. Dunno, still haven't thought about it. Oh, your stylist is playing White Album too? Oh, I can't tab out. Okay, let's... Yeah, I don't know why it does that. I don't know, I still haven't thought about it. The girl spoke in a lonely murmur. Of course, even I knew I couldn't be here forever. Like everyone else, going in and out of the hospital, slowly weakening until someday. I like those sound effects, they remind me of Xenosaga. In the end, either the 7th floor is surrounded by thin smiles. It would probably come to a choice between those two.
私は家は嫌だけどここも嫌。
What will you do?
別にどうもしない。自力で歩けるうちにどこかに行くだけ。
Somewhere you... Even though it was obvious that one wanted to run away, one could, this girl still remained on the 7th floor. When I thought about that, do you have some other place to go to?
あなた、私を引き止めたいの？
Huh?
それとも一緒についてきたいの？
No, I didn't mean it like that.
じゃあ聞かないで。
While gazing at the window, the girl spoke indifferently. As always, it had been a conversation where she did not even look in my direction. However, in just that time, her usual expressionless profile seemed sad. Taught that the third temporary discharge would be the last, I've come to the 7th floor for the first time, and then a girl who would soon face her second time. For me, I couldn't really feel the things that were happening as reality, but someday would I also come to make such a face? From before dawn, rain fell, occasionally also changing to either sleet or snow. It lightly continued coming down. With that, I was in the usual place watching the television. As always, the 7th floor was devoid of people.
面白い。
No, exploring. The girl came from the other side. Exchanging only those words, she quietly sat in the folding chair next to me. And then today also, the two of us began gazing at the television. Surely this girl was also the same. There was nothing else to do, nothing else she could do.
Ah.
Surprisingly, she responded to something on the television. Something the matter? The words were the same, not particularly, but it was a response that was different from the usual her. Becoming interested, I turned my eyes to the screen. What was on the screen was some kind of nature scene. On a beautiful hill, trees and flowers merged into a landscape. Focused on the screen were a great many white flowers. They were flowers I remembered seeing before. They resembled the white flowers even now decorating the room by the windows. Are those the same flower? Look, aren't they exactly like these? Speaking, I pointed at first to the screen and then towards the window. Oh,
種
really?
類は同じだけど厳密に言えば違う。
Giving the flowers by the window just a glance, she once again returned to gazing at the television while answering. Honestly, even if she denied that they were the same, to me I didn't know the difference between the two. Those are narcissus. Narcissus. Besides, for me, whether the flowers were the same or different, it didn't really matter. Besides that, the girl normally would never participate in conversation. The girl surprisingly continued speaking. That was why I also tried to maintain conversation. Are you maybe knowledgeable about this sort of thing? Really? But I can't tell the difference at all. Light flowers blooming beyond the screen. The flowers in the vases beyond the girl's profile. While vaguely looking at both of them, I continued further with my words. So there are orchids. These are orchids or lilies? Look, they've got a whitish color, right? Even though I had no interest, I just kept saying things like that came to mind. However, the girl soon became like usual and fell silent. With her usual expression, she only gazed at the boring screen. And when I had given up on the possibility that she would take up the conversation and once again begin to move my eyes back to the television.
ナルキッソス。
Eh?
ナルキッソスよ。
While answering, for the first time, she faced me, swaying her long waist-length hair, while pointing at the flowers shown on the television. She looked at me. Sorry about that. Just like the flowers displayed on the screen, there is a white vinyl bracelet wrapped around a wrist like white skin. The first time I saw that face, I thought I saw the briefest of smiles. Few days passed and the winter became even more serious. Out in the world, it was the middle of what was called examination season. As always, the two of us are watching the television today. It's boring, isn't it?
そうね。
An exchange that couldn't even be called a conversation. There were days where the two of us only passed the time meaninglessly. Speaking of which, for you, when was it?
今日よ。
I see it's today. Here today that we spoke about was what she had told me before, her temporary discharge.
会えないかもね。
Well, that's right. Even if she were to once again return to the 7th floor, just once more was probably the limit. In that time, surely I would also be coming and going between home and this place. For the two of us to meet again, it wasn't likely the timing would work
あな
out.
た決まった？
That which do you want to diet thing? No, not yet. She nodded in a slightly lonely way. That expression was probably because she was someone going on their second temporary discharge. Meanwhile, I had yet to realize things had not been given my first temporary discharge from the doctors. That reminds me, in the end, did she decide on her own answer for herself? Pitter patter. Says to me, the arrangements are done. Coming. Here and speaking with some older lady. Most likely it was the girl's mother. To me, since I was sitting nearby, the mother bowed her head slightly. Well, it's about time we'll be going. Are you ready? Well then, excuse us. Once again, giving me a small bow, the lady made to leave the place. And then she stretched out her hand to the girl that was her daughter. But the girl didn't make to leave the place. Even when her mother tugged on her hand, for some reason she didn't make to stand from the folding chair. What's wrong, Setsumi?
少し
It hurts where? Your chest, stomach?
胸
Wait here, I'll go call the doctor now. Pitter patter. In a rush, the slapping sound of a guest slippers rang out, and the lady ran towards the nurse's station. I think she wanted to stay because of us. Left in that place was the girl still hunched over in the folding chair and me. Her condition or its progression I knew absolutely nothing about. The thing that I knew were her name was Setsumi, both type O, only the thing that wore on that white bracelet. However, we were residents of the 7th floor, and at least she was worse than me. Say until the doctor comes, why to lie down there? As I spoke, I pointed to the couch. It was something that was placed in a corner of the room from before. Look, I'll support your back.
別にもう平気よ
With just that reply, she quickly stood up on her own. Hey, you. Don't strain yourself. Faster than I could finish, quickly she walked out into the hall. Night. After the lights were put out, as always, holding a book of manga, unable to sleep, I wandered around the hospital. And then with the lights off, there was a pitch-dark lounge. There I found her figure. Yo, you're here again? What's wrong? Feeling bad
別
again?
に
While looking at the window, that was all the girl replied. In the end, it seemed that the girl's temporary discharge had been postponed. With that, while I didn't know when the next opportunity would be, and most likely the postponement was not in a few days but weeks. So I'm just wondering, for today you are faking being sick? Well, the term faking sickness itself might have been a bit strange. After all, we couldn't really be said to be in a normal condition. The point being, you didn't want to go on temporary
意味
leave.
がわからないわよ
Well, you won't have any more after, right? To that question, she remained silent and gave no reply. From before, she had repeatedly asked me which place I had planned to die in, and to that I had not yet decided. Well, the girl had said she didn't like home or the 7th floor. You really don't have another place to go, do you?
だったらどうなのよ
No, nothing. In the usual lounge, now pitch dark. As always, without even looking my way, the girl sat looking out the window. Sorry. Even though I was still 11 o'clock, in this place called a hospital, most of the lights were already out. This place was where the ordinary and extraordinary days met. Moreover, we were residents of the 7th floor. Already we could choose nothing outside of the 7th floor and home. From that dark 7th floor window, the girl continued looking outside the world, the ordinary world. Still buildings and houses shone brightly with light. The roads home were filled with figures of people hurrying home. I myself had only barely realized my situation, but already I was a resident of the 7th floor, person of the extraordinary world. Probably I was already unable to return to the other world. The news as time had stopped. Numerous seasons, white overcast skies, passed without the need to exchange words with anyone. In the beginning, from the window, watched lively children go to school, people walking quickly. When I tired of that, I always watched the television. There was nothing else to do, nothing else I could do. Even if outside the window it was snowing, the screen had the sun. With the cold, heat, or pain, a dream world spread before my eyes. I sought peace in imaginations. I only greatly increased my knowledge, simply in accumulating more and more meaningless trivia. At some point, the things shown on the television lost their sense of reality. Next was in books and games, then family. Finally, even my own body. As if watching some stranger, I lost the ability to understand it as real. That was why, when I came to the 7th floor, I wasn't surprised. If I closed my eyes always, the world would disappear. That's why I thought I was fine with it. Made myself think I was fine. And soon I would be discharged a second time. The next time I come here, I might not be able to walk on my own. Even though I knew that, I felt my unresisting self to be wretched. Felt myself who didn't even have a destination to be ridiculous.
時間を止め、心を止め、胸に大きな傷跡を作り、それでも22年も生きてきたのに哀れだと思った。
I'm gonna pause here because I have like a really big headache. After a few days more, the cloudy days ended yesterday and the high winter sky spread wide. Surprisingly, my father came to visit. In the beginning, he had a pained look on his face. However, he said something about my insurance. You can see it now, right? At the time, his eyes weren't sad. Well, I have to talk a bit with the doctor. Saying that, my father went down the hall. He seemed to be heading that place from before. Yeah, okay, cool. The gloomy conference room. Once again, I was alone in the hospital room. With nothing to do, I stretched my hands out to the weekly magazines bought for me from the store. They were there along with the fruits and the juice that he always bought when visiting. Next to the basket with fruit inside, just in front of the melons that I hated. What came into view were car keys. Shining silver keys. It was the coup that father was so proud of, with the interior he apparently had modified. Before I asked on a whim to borrow it and had been quickly turned down, the keys to that car. And in my pajama chest pocket, that driver's license. Even though it had lost its debut that day, I had continued to carry the license. It was proof of my once ordinary days. Clack. Without a word, I grasped the keys. I just went and did it. Even I didn't know the exact reason why. Simply, I just did that. It was like watching a single scene on television somewhere. Then, taking the few days' worth of medicine I had been given, I just placed them in a bag from a convenience store. I headed down the hall. Slipping by the nurse's station, I quickly continued to walk towards the elevator. You can hear it too, right? The music just started, but there wasn't any music at first. Plastic bag in my right hand, the car keys in my left. In my chest pocket, the license I was supposed to have lost its debut lay hidden. In the lounge, the next thing that came into sight was the figure of the girl, as always, watching the television. Yeah? Okay, good. Thank you for letting me know, Felix. Sitting in a cheap folding chair today, she was also boredly looking at the screen. Hey you, is that interesting?
そう見える。
No, not at all. The usual exchange. Her eyes were as usual, seemingly looking far away. Well then, shall we go together? Said to me. Eh? While showing her the card key in my hand, I continued speaking. I also don't want home. When she says this, she means she also doesn't want to die at home. Said to me. I also don't want the 7th floor. And the 7th floor is the place they're at right now, which is like a place where you wait to die, basically. So, shall we go together? Said to me. With that word, the girl stood up from the folding chair. Lightly, her long hair swayed and brushed the tip of my nose. And so the girl also packed a few days' worth of medicine into a plastic bag. Then the two of us placed the 7th floor behind us, turned off the boring television. The shrilly laughing voice of the host was silenced. The two of us in pajamas got on the elevator and descended from the highest floor to the first. When we came to the first floor, instead of the entrance for emergencies, normal admittance and discharges, we deliberately left from the outpatient entrance and headed to the parking lot. Phew! The moment we left the building, a cold winter blast struck us in the face. In the parking lot, with a few obstructions, the wind felt even stronger. Together, while we carefully peered around searching, we walked around the parking lot. Then, after searching a while, we finally found my father's car. Silver coupe. The car Dad was so proud of that he even fussed over the interior. Quickly, I inserted the key and opened the door. Click. Here, you can get in, said to me. Alright. Slam. Sank myself into the deep driver's seat. For the girl in the passenger seat, because of her size, even if she sat normally, it was difficult for her to see the front. Next, I put the key in my hand into the ignition. As I turned it, I stepped on the accelerator. It was all exactly like what the training center had taught. In moments, the sound of the engine reverberated in the interior. After that, just have to release the parking brake and let go of the clutch. With this, we can go anywhere. Should be able to go anywhere. Well, here we go, said to me. The girl gave a small nod. Instead of responding, I shifted into second gear. And quietly, the car set off. As the chassis rattled from the unfamiliar clutch slowly went on, said to me, "It's shaky, isn't it?" "Yeah, it's the first time in this car after all. And while we're on the subject, it's the first time driving since getting my license," said to me. "I see." Eventually, it appeared before us, the hospital parking lot. Just beyond it was a large road. Pulled the car out into the lightless intersection. Steering wheel on the right. From behind came the sound of car horns blaring at us as we suddenly pulled into the lane. The unfamiliar clutch ground while gear shifted, while the super coup ran in fits and starts. Perhaps the car behind us was especially angry. It didn't seem like they'd stop honking for a while. Even so, without paying them any particular mind, I drove. The feeling to reality was somehow thin. "Hey, you." "What? Are you afraid?" "Being afraid would be better?" "No, not really." Still morning, the sun was high. Looking beyond the windshield, the January winter sky was painted so blue it somehow felt sorrowful. It wasn't like we had a destination. That day under the winter sky, the car swayed with the unfamiliar clutch. That day in our pajamas, the two of us aimed for the national road. That winter day. Around that so very high sun was turning orange. We continued to drive. Simply at random, the car continued running. And then when the area turned into an unfamiliar place, I'm stopping for a bit. Finally, I brought the car to a stop. Outside the city area, by the roadside somewhere, a lonely place that didn't seem to have much traffic. Stopping the car at a place I didn't even know the name of, for now I started inspecting the interior. There were things that would be even the slightest bit useful. We had rushed out without any preparation, but I could see that we would be in trouble very soon. While thinking about that first, I searched the dashboard in front of me. There really isn't much things there. Just a few hundred yen worth of what appeared to be change from the expressways. The rest were just a few books of manga and a disposable camera. It was like we had a destination, but it seemed even the navigation system installed in the car was broken. And also the amount of money I had was about 8,000 yen. While leaving, I had hardly stuffed that much in my pocket. With that, adding in change in front of me, I could barely make 9,000 yen. That's $90. That's not that bad. Of course, it wasn't like I'd been expecting to find anything in the car from the start. But with this budget, we'd probably get in trouble really soon. I could definitely believe that we wouldn't find decent lodging. Yeah, you probably have to sleep in the car. Even so, I doubt that girl had any money. Is something wrong? No, it's nothing. Oh well, it didn't matter. I should have known this from the start. To begin with, it wasn't like we had thought of arrangements or plans before acting. So that right now I want to move, I don't want to sit still. Under the now darkening sky, once again the silver coupe ran. By the way, are you hungry? As I drove, I spoke to the one sitting next to me. Think about it, we hadn't eaten since this morning. For now, let's go to a convenience store? No. Hey, don't be so picky. Compared to 7th floor's food, it absolutely has to be better. Setsumi. At my words, the girl returned silence. Those downcast eyes, their line of sight was on the pink pajamas that she wore. Ah, now that you say that's right. As I spoke, I looked down at my own clothes. It wasn't like there was no problem inside the car either, for now we had to do something about these clothes. Making that decision, I turned the wheel from the main road and headed into town. After running a while, the place that I came to was some street I didn't know the name of. Surely it must be near some station, since it was a street where about that number of people could be seen. In a place like this, you'd think there'd be one. While glancing around the area, searching, I moved the car on, slightly raising my body in the seat while driving. Ah, found it! In a short while, I spotted a coin-operated laundromat. It appeared quite run down and was on the first floor of a small apartment building. This place might just be perfect. Short distance from the entrance, I parked the car. Alright, just wait a bit. Slam. Leaving the girl who was making a puzzled face, I headed to the coin-op laundromat on foot. Just past the automatic doors, my nose picked up the scent of bleach and detergent. Inside, just as run down as the exterior, filled with old washing machines and dryers. There's no one around. I muttered at the empty shop. Rumble. There, raising a low sound while spinning, was a single unit in use. Quickly approaching the machine, I started to check the timer. Looked like 200 yen had been inserted instead for 20 minutes, and it had only been going for 5 minutes. Most likely, till it was about done, the person was passing time somewhere. Coming to that conclusion, once again from the entrance, I looked around for someone that seemed like that sort of person. Then, making sure that no one was inside, I placed my hands on the revolving dryer door and suddenly opened it. Ka-chang! Opened in the middle of a drying cycle. The machine was forced to stop temporarily. Ignoring the blast of heat and moist air, I took out a mass of half-dry clothing from inside. There, carrying it like that in both hands, I looked around once more before I put the shop behind me. Click! Slam! Setsumi. Ah. Seeing both of my hands filled with laundry, the girl raised a bit of a surprised voice. However, paying no heed to that, I threw them in the back seat. Well, we're going. Vroom, vroom. With one hand on the wheel, I eyed the pile of laundry I'd thrown in the back. At a glance, it was all flashy-looking jeans and sweatshirts. All the sizes seemed to be on the large side. They were still wet, but inside the car with the heat from the vents, they'd probably be dry very soon. Later, change into whatever you want. There was no reply to those words either. She simply eyed the pile of laundry. Well, what else could we do? I know. Even for me, it wasn't like I did this because I liked it. Plus, while the money we had wasn't being held for any particular purpose, what we had immediately on hand, buying new clothes would have been a tight situation. When the face of the moon really came out, we had driven for a while. I stopped the car and parked somewhere. It was most likely some kind of children's park tucked in the middle of a residential neighborhood. In the middle of that, I began to search through the clothes stolen earlier. Most likely because of the heating in the car, the laundry was totally dry. Looks like this really is all guy stuff. Exactly as when I glanced at them, it was all gaudy jeans and sweats. It's likely someone about my age size-wise, something close. Then, while sitting in the driver's seat, I grabbed a pair of suitable jeans and sweatshirt and started to change. Hey, you change into something too. They're all too big. Then you're always gonna be in pajamas? Alright. Can't reply. The girl took a pair of jeans and opened the door. Hey, where are you going? To change. Just then answers she and walking towards the restroom that could be seen just in the park ahead. Click. Hey. There, that was quick. The moment the girl returned, the pink pajamas she had been wearing up until now were in her hand. She changed it to jeans and a white sweatshirt. Well, it's good that you managed to put something on. There's no reply. It was something I saw coming. The size was too much and draped rather heavily on her. Since the jeans were too long, the legs were rolled up in a number of times. Meanwhile, the top sweatshirt folded over in the same way. The pajamas were better. Well, don't say that. It's a bit warmer this way. At my word, she just gave me the slightest dissatisfied look. I guess something more feminine would have been better. Not particularly. Her unusual response. Even though I had thought she was dissatisfied with the poofy sweatshirt, soon she returned to being expressionless. Suddenly it started raining. As if I'd forgotten how to stop, rain spilled from the cold January sky. Looking from the inside of the car, countless raindrops on the windshield. One by one they would go too big to stick, and a number would gather, overflow, and turn into a rivulet. Then while flowing down, they would involve the other rivulets and flow even more. Two of us just sat gazing at the rain from inside the car. In some parking lot somewhere, a lonely place in the mountains. Having finished shopping at a convenience store, we were spending the night. On the menu for each of us was 2 rice balls, 500 milliliters of piccati, and half an order of fries. It's been a while since having this stuff, right? One hand holding the convenience store rice ball, the girl murmured. Thinking about it normally, it wasn't all that splendid, but compared to the food on the 7th floor, it was good enough. And then when both of us reached out towards the flies, suddenly the girl's hand stopped. Something wrong? Not particularly. While answering her line of sight, turned towards the white fogged windshield. There by the roadside, a number of white flowers could be seen. White flowers soaked by the rain. I didn't know whether they were planted by someone or whether they were there naturally, but those flowers looked familiar. Those were Narcissu. Daffodils. Ah, those were daffodils. I didn't know too much about plants and all, but daffodils I had at least heard the name before. And I recalled that even though the girl normally spoke only rarely, she would uncharacteristically join in conversations on this topic. That's why I went along and continued to speak. And I guess these are different from those two? Strictly speaking, they're different. They're quite rare things then, aren't they? Not particularly. They're everywhere. Everywhere, like where? For me, it wasn't like I put very much meaning in the statement. It was intended simply, from the flow of conversation, as a natural question. Yet she thought for a moment, then slowly opened her mouth. West. West? Awajishima is famous. Hey wait, Awajishima, you mean? Just how far away do you think that is from here? For someone who only just started driving like me, I couldn't even make a guess. Most likely it was easily around 700 kilometers. Even using the expressways, I couldn't even begin to estimate the time it would take. First, considering our funds, it certainly didn't seem enough. Even if we stayed off the expressways and used the smaller roads, the cost of gasoline itself seemed ominous. Look, don't say unreasonable things now. There's no way we could go to such a place, right? Who said anything about wanting to go? I was asked, so I simply answered. With just that answer, the girl once again gazed beyond the windshield at those flowers. The glass inside the car, cold from the rain, was fogged white. She cast her gaze beyond even that. It's not like I want to go there either. However, it's also not like we had another place to go. Nice! Chapter 3. Oh, I hit the wrong one. we go. Chapter 3.
時間の止まった私。
Only increasing my knowledge, simply increasing the number of meaningless values, simply desiring only information from the television screen. Eventually, reality grew faded, turned hollow.
でも地図を見るのは好きだった。
Cars and trains, things that would take me places, I liked them. Spreading maps upon the narrow bed, connecting route after route, connecting. Sedans, coupes, convertibles. I also rode on many different kinds of cars. At ever continuing Route 1, I ran all the way to the distant end of it. Indigo blue sky, beautiful shoreline. Ran all the way to the places painted in my dreams. Gently going around the curve traced by a cape under the burning sunlight dashing on a brilliant white beach. If I just closed my eyes, I could go anywhere. Scenery that I had never seen before would float before me as I thought about lands that I would never be able to go.
無意味にただ知識だけを増やした。虚しく憧れだけを募らせた。
Sky where the rain had let up. Flowing by at an amazing speed, high clouds. From the ground, the still damp asphalt gave a distinctive sha noise. Within all that, as always, we continue driving on. Without a destination, simply just driving on. It wasn't like we were headed to the Awajishima that we had spoke about last night. For one thing, as a problem for that, we probably didn't have the gasoline money. While pondering about that, I continued driving straight along to the unknown road. But where was this, I wonder? Suddenly, I wound up thinking about it. I wasn't all that good with geography to begin with, but all the place names were ones I'd never seen before. I'd been driving fairly carefully, but with the navigation system dead, I knew even less. Before I knew it, I was peering at the signs in the area while I drove. I don't really know.
何？
No, just wondering where this is. The girl spoke to me when I looked around and I gave a simple reply. Well, most likely, even if I asked her, she wouldn't have known.
入間よ。埼玉県の。
Eh?
次の交差点を右に行けば16号線。
You know? Did you live here before?
別にそんなんじゃないわよ。
That was a surprise? No, instead of surprising, why she knew so much was mysterious. No matter how you looked, she didn't seem the type to get in a car and go around. Then maybe from here to that place, Awajishima, you know the way?
質問の意味がわからない。
Well, you see, without getting on the expressway, we might be able to get there using only the smaller roads, right? Look, the gasoline costs, our money might be enough after all.
あなた行きたいの？
No, it's not like I mean that, but...
じゃあ聞かないで。
With those final words, the girl once again fell silent. In her usual cold way, she remained staring out the window. I had the feeling that while those eyes were looking at was not scenery floating by before her, but a much farther place. Those words from before, don't ask. Just what did they mean, I wonder? If I had answered that I planned on going, what would she have answered? Without a destination, we simply traveled. From the start, we hadn't any plans or schedules. Simply, we just hated both the 7th floor and our shallow homes. But for me, the least, just for me, it didn't matter what. I probably wanted something to give me direction. It's cold, isn't it?
そうね。
Some beach I didn't know the name of. When I noticed, we were headed out towards the sea. I'd intended to head west, but it seemed at some point I wound up heading south. A beach with a pitch black sky and a strong cold wind, the two of us left the car and stood gazing at the dark sea. always the girl looked far away with a downcast air where the black sky and sea merged at the horizon. And then after watching the sea for a while, slowly she began walking to the water's edge.
どうなると思う？
And I don't understand the meaning of your question.
楽に死ねると思う？このまま海に入っていくと。
How about no? Hey, strange, how are you? Her back was still turned to me, words as she continued walking to the water's edge. The third time was the last, there was no fourth. Probably it would come picking between the 7th floor and home. Seemed no one has escaped that. Those were the words the girl had once passed to me. And she was on her 2nd, and had said that she wanted neither home nor the 7th floor. Already this was after she had passed it to me. Already her task was over. No! Hello! That was why I figured I meant that. Who knows? I've never drowned before.
じゃあもしも今私が海に入っていったならあなた止める？
While speaking, she turned around and looked at my face, placing the moon floating in the pitch-black sky to her back. The gaze that was always looking at some faraway place was looking straight at me. I don't know, not until that time.
そうよね。
And then, turning her back to me and once again facing the sea, she slowly took a step forward. Hey, you.
何？
Is it that you want me to stop you? My words, the girl stopped just a few steps before the breaking waves. Strong winds misted up the spray from the waves, striking her feet. If you want me to stop you, I'll stop you.
別にそんなんじゃないわよ。
Then I don't have to stop you, right? For that question, there was no reply either. However, the feet that stopped did not go further. That was why I thought that was her reply. A high, high sky that could only be found in winter. Stained heart-wrenchingly blue with a strong wind that whistled across the elevated rail line. Reflecting that blue sky was the metallic hood of the running silver coupe. I was gripping the steering wheel and she sat in her usual way in the passenger seat. Where this was, I don't know, but as a more real problem, in moments we were going to run out of gasoline. We hadn't had that much money to begin with, but from purchases at convenience stores, our remaining funds were even less now. Now there was only 7,000 yen. Of course, I didn't know how much liters the car took, but I thought we probably had enough to fill the tank once. It wasn't as if we had a destination or anything, but losing our legs would mean we would be stuck. I'll go get some gas.
So.
While speaking, I turned the wheel and headed towards the gas station in front of us. Welcome. Will it be credit card or cash? With cash. Will it be regular or high octane? Regular? High octane? I didn't really understand. Of course, when it came to this car, there were lots of things that I didn't know. Since I had only just gotten my license, I knew very little about this sort of thing in general. What shall it be? Hesitated to speak while the part-time clerk waited for my answer from the other side of the window. And just when I was about to say it didn't matter, the girl in the passenger seat spoke.
レギュラーよ。
Yes, regular. Yes, regular cash full tank. Will that be alright? Yes, please. Yes, certainly. With a cheerful reply, the attendant began to skillfully pump the gasoline. From the window open about 10 centimeters came the distasteful smell of gasoline. I like the smell of gasoline. Hey, regular is fine for this? The question, the girl remained silent. Instead, she quietly pointed at the price listing on the pump. Of course, this was the cheaper one. I didn't really know how much about this, but I didn't think there was that much difference. And then there was the meter on the gas pump before my eyes, reporting the amount used. 25, 26, 27, 28. Digital display was counting up ferociously. Did I screw up? Looking at those numbers, I began to get nervous. It does feel good, but I'd probably get a headache smelling that all day like gas station attendants. Yeah, I could see that. Just before, I had wound up saying full tank on a whim, but the amount of money that we had on hand wasn't all that much. Putting together all the change, it was about 7,000 yen, and of course I had no idea how large this car's tank was. If there wasn't enough money, what would happen? Going by the price list shown, I believed we had enough for about 60 liters, but 60, 39, 38, 40, 41. Even now the meter was counting up without slowing down. During normal conditions, it would have been something I wouldn't be worried about, but as I continued watching, I grew more and more nervous. Damn, it's still going? Before I knew it, the words stumbled out.
大丈夫よ。もう止まるわ。これ50リッターだから。
Just as she said, when the meter was between 40 and 48, it stopped. Following that, the sound of her receipt printed and ran out, and once again the part-time clerk came back. Thank you for waiting. It comes out to 5,240 yen. Here. 52 bucks. Damn. From my pocket, I took out and handed over a $50 bill with a crumpled $10 bill. Here's your change of 760 yen in your receipt. Thank you very much. Putting the clerk's right voice behind us, once again pulled the car out into the road before us. Once again the silver coupe ran. With this, I felt the urge and fear of the gas tank to be gone for the moment. Now remaining funds was just about 2,000 yen. I was also worried about that, but I was curious about what happened just before. Hey, are you... Could it be that you know a lot about cars?
別に。
Not particularly. Didn't you just say this was a 50 liter before? Of course, this much might just have been a guess or something that was common knowledge. However, previously she had also known about roads. I also nagged by that fact. I took out the car registration on the dashboard. You would of course know this car's name,
それ
right?
は質問。
Well, you can think of it as a quiz.
インテグラタイプ R クーペ
That's correct. And the specs?
99年式高速ミッション最高出力200馬力。
Hadn't thought that she would really answer. My eyes couldn't help but follow the words on the registration in my hand as the girl finally continued speaking. Mochi, thank you so much for reading. Oh my god. I hope you had an amazing stream. Welcome everyone. This is a very sad game about... Hey Avix Live, hey Golden Panther. Yeah, this is a very sad game about two girls who both have terminal diseases. And they were at this place in the hospital called the 7th floor. And the 7th floor is basically a place where you go to die. And they both agreed that they didn't want to die in the hospital or at home. So our main character stole her dad's keys, and now we're like driving together. And we just found out that she like knows a lot about cars and roads for some reason, and we don't know why. Well, I had to cut stream short because my allergies are actually beating me the F up. Oh no! I hope you feel better soon, Mochi. At least it's just allergies and nothing worse.
全長4380全幅1695
So like this is her describing the
総
car.
排気量
Sad game equals
1797
perfect background noise. Bring me that 1-bit donation badge. Thank you for the 1-bit, Avix.
まだ言うの
No, that's enough. Correct. So I replied I returned the registration to its place. Unbelievably, all the specs were exactly as recorded. It was very much something that I didn't think could be memorized. If I asked why someone would, I couldn't begin to imagine. But right before my eyes, this girl answered. Moreover, considering the roads and flowers from before, I couldn't believe that she knew about a wide variety of things. Hey, why do you know so much?
別にあなたより年上だからよ
With just that answer, once again she fell silent. Gazing out the window, she didn't give off an air that she would answer any new questions I raised. Older. I really didn't look it, but those were also the girl's words from before. Name Setsumi, blood type O. Those were the words written on her white vinyl bracelet. And she seemed to be older. That was the little information I knew of her. Around when the sun was slowly setting, the silver coupe continued running, without a destination, without a place it needed to go, just simply moving forward. The issue of gasoline was fine, but the remaining money had mostly disappeared. Even counting the change, it was about 2,000 yen. Thinking in terms of buying meals at convenience stores, it would last about 3 or 4 days. Hey, what should we do from now on?
質問の意味がわからない。
I mean, we don't have much money left.
だから
And so the girl was as she always had been. She spoke while bringing the rice ball just bought from the convenience store to her mouth. And also just by continuing to drive like this, without a doubt, the gasoline was being used up. Honestly speaking, doing nothing, just standing still might have been better. However, doing nothing, being unable to do anything, just staying still was painful. While thinking that, I kept driving. From previous experience, when driving on the smaller roads, it was about just 3 days before the gasoline ran out. The remaining 2,000 yen used to buy food from the convenience store was similarly 3-4 days worth. Clearly the end of things was coming into sight. Hey yo, that place, Awajishima was it? You wanna go there? There is no reply, just the usual gazing out the window as always. I might want to go a bit, maybe. Why? Well, that's... Of course, we hadn't dashed out the 7th floor with goals or plans to begin with. That was why for me, going west, east, or wherever it was didn't matter. I was sure any place would have been fine. I just wanted some goal or destination. When the day completely turned into night, I was in some pachinko parlor's parking lot. Of course, I wasn't planning on making money off pachinko or slots. With this measly 2,000 yen, I knew I didn't stand a chance. However, if it were just 10 or 20,000 yen, it should be easy to steal that much. That was from my previous travels through pachinko parlors, my guess. With just that much, for the moment we would be fine. We might even be able to get to that Awajishima. So at Awajishima, there's supposedly a bunch of Narcissu, which is what this game is called, or otherwise known as daffodils. And the girl we're with is weirdly focused on daffodils. That's why I spoke about my plan to the girl. How about it? Want to try?
Yeah.
I see, alright. It was what was expected, but I was plainly refused. From the start, it wasn't as if I was expecting anything from the girl. It wasn't as if I had sought out her help. Explaining my plans to her was more like a declaration. Well then, wait a bit. Leaving her in the car, I walked towards the pachinko parlor alone. Inside the unexpectedly crowded shop, there were a number of machines, ball dispensers, and a fair amount of people. Here and there were also a number of stacked cash boxes. I might be just right. Making that decision, I headed towards the slot corner that was my target. After a while, scouting from the aisles, from examining the area, I found one machine. Some middle-aged man who definitely looked like an office worker had stacked 4 boxes by his feet. Above his head were another 2 stacked. Moreover, it was a corner machine, and the neighboring machines were empty. From what I had seen from before, he also didn't seem to have come with friends or acquaintances. The conditions were lined up. Most likely in that state, even if one box by his feet were stolen, he wouldn't notice right away. Oh yeah, also, earlier, so when we escaped from the hospital when we stole our dad's car, we stopped off at a laundromat and just stole some dude's clothes so that we wouldn't be in pajamas. So I think now we're gonna steal more money so we can go to the place with all the daffodils. If it was like similar shops, it should be worth some 20,000 yen. If we had just that much, simply wait intently for the office worker-like person to head for the restroom. Eventually, when about 30 minutes had passed, finally the man stood up from his seat. Quickly following after, I went to the restroom to make sure. Then in a rush, I quickly returned to the slot machine. Next, while checking on the people who were playing the slots and the shop staff, I slowly approached the machine. Then, in order to avoid suspicion, acting perfectly natural, I pulled up a cash box at my feet. Crash. At that instant, a tremendous sound raised as the slots coins scattered on the floor. Pulled it up was the plan. Now, I definitely raised it up once with these hands. However, unable to support the weight, I wound up dropping the entire box on the floor. And then all eyes looked over, wondering what the cause of the racket. Thought I heard the sound of voices, felt the presence of people running over. However, those voices were heard from behind me. Already by that time, I was 2 meters in front of the shop exit. Slam, pant, pant. Starting the engine in a big rush, I slammed on the gas. Turning the wheel, I hurriedly pulled the car out at that time. Bang, scrape, scrape. Yeah, just... Maybe because I'd driven up onto a curb or something. Just then I wound up ramming in the rear. That nasty scraping sound was the body scraping on something. However, there wasn't any time to worry about that. I drove off onto the road in front of us. Phew. While rubbing my chest, which was almost out of breath, I drove Silver Coupe along the now totally dark road. I was a bit worried about the spot that was hit before, but for now getting away from that place had priority. Eventually, driving about 10 minutes, when we were totally clear of the pachinko parlor, I stopped the car on some roadside and began inspecting the place that was hit earlier.
大丈夫?
Yeah, it's probably nothing major. From the passenger seat, the girl called to me sounding just a tiny bit worried. So I inspected the dangerous area. I answered. Damaged, not dangerous. From the looks of it, the rear bumper was slightly dented and the muffler's tip was a bit cracked. With just this, there probably wouldn't be a problem driving. Ew. Feeling relieved, I let out a sigh. So close. Immediately I recalled the events in the pachinko parlor. I feel with just a little bit more to go, but if I did it well, the next time I thought I could succeed. Figured that even though I hadn't been able to carry the cash box, it was only because I hadn't lifted heavy things in a while. If I were prepared from the start, I could probably manage, since you're being mistaken. The you now should be different from the you from before. The girl's words were as if she'd seen clear through to me. But with just that much weight...
同じように考えない方がいい。
Most likely what she was saying was right. I didn't want to admit it, but the me now was different from the me before. Certainly with my strength reduced by this much, it was hard to believe I would succeed. Then what should I do? To that question there came no answer, just quiet gazing at the dark sky beyond the window. Was that telling me to give up? Oh, we finished chapter 3! Nice, let's go to chapter 4.
時間を止め、心を止めて、情報だけを積み重ねる日々。
Days of gazing at maps, closing my eyes, traveling to unknown towns. One day, on a monthly magazine I always bought, my eyes stopped on a photo decorating the back cover. There's a female model wearing a flashy swimsuit. Shown at the water's edge with that sort of pose. With the emerald sea I always saw in my dreams behind her back, she was smiling. I was sure we were around the same age. With that exceptional figure, happy and relaxed, directing a smile at me. I don't think I was particularly envious. For one thing, I didn't have a swimsuit and didn't even have any urgent need for one. For me, if I had pajamas, that was enough.
いくつもの季節を、白い梅雨空を、誰とも言葉を交わす必要もなく過ごした。
That day, first year of middle school in June, the first day I was admitted to the hospital. I remembered that I had ordered a swimsuit, recalled the swimsuit from a number of years before. I remembered the swimsuit that had lost its debut that day. Taken out of the drawer for the first time in years, a school swimsuit that was still brand new. Taking off my usual pajamas, Nervously, I put on that blue swimsuit. It was a perfect fit, even though how many years have passed. It fit as if just now I had ordered it. Towards my figure, the monthly magazine's model directed her smiling face at me, smiled with the emerald sea to her back. With that exceptional figure, happy and relaxed, directing a smile at me. That was saddening. I didn't think I was particularly envious. However, to be honest, I really might have admired her. Because I knew that it was impossible, I might have yearned for it even more so.
だけど胸の大きな傷跡が諦めろと諭した。
So yeah, this is definitely from the perspective of the other girl, not us.
生涯の伴侶は目を閉じた世界にしろと。
When the sun slowly slanted, staining the western sky orange. As always, we continued to drive. What should we do now? Our money was for the most part tight.
ねえあなた。
When I was thinking about that, surprisingly the girl spoke to me. You can go take baths? Right now outside of long baths, I haven't been told to stop. I see. Something similar to me then. What she was saying was probably whether the doctors have stopped me from taking baths or not. Especially for kidney and other digestive disorders where their tubes were used, baths were often banned. Thinking about that way, at least, the girl probably had a circulatory problem like I did. What, did you want to go take a bath?
悪い。
No, I want to take one also. Even so, financially speaking, stopping at a hostel or hotel was out of the question. Well then, shall we look for a bathhouse someplace?
銭湯？
Yeah, something like that. We still have the money for...
やっぱりいい。
What, you're fine? I bet she doesn't want people to see her scar on her chest. Since that day from when we left the 7th floor, 3 days had already passed. There, bathing was done twice a week, and in order to wipe the body, each day there were 2 warm sponge baths. Well, because of the season, we didn't sweat, and we were mostly in the car, so we didn't particularly get dirty, but... Is it that you're embarrassed about the bathhouse, and so you don't want to go?
別にそんな意味じゃないわよ。
The sun had completely set, and a large moon showed its face in the sky. After that, driving for a while, I found a place that looked like a school somewhere. Here might be just right. I stopped the car on the roadside near the entrance. Then I began fishing through that mass of laundry that had been left in the back seat. I was sure there were 2 or 3 towels. So, pushing aside the clothes that didn't matter, I took up what felt like a towel. Had the words Shiraishi construction printed on it, most likely some marketing thing, as it was a shabby towel. Well, wait a bit. Holding 2 of the shabby towels, I headed to the school in front of us. Climbing over the closed gate, I peered around the area for the place I was looking for. Ah, there it is. After a while, I found the faucet I was looking for. It was probably there for the gardens. Turning the faucet, the water flowed out strongly, cold enough that it felt like it would cut through you. Then I wet the towels and firmly wrung them out. Slam. Sorry for the wait here. Taking one of the 2 damp towels in my hand, I gave one of them to the girl. Taking off the sweatshirt I wore on top, I went ahead and started to wipe my body. In the car interior, well warm from the heater, I felt the chilly damp towel felt good. You don't have to hold back, wipe your body. It's cold and it feels good, you know.
わかった。
First, the girl had remained unmoving with a sense of hesitation. But with that answer, she slowly took her hands to the buttons on her clothes. Floppy dress shirt and jeans. Unlike me, she placed her hands with her clothes and wiped her body that way.
ね
Something the
え
matter?
見ないでよ。
Oh, sorry, that's right. Holding the towel in her hands, the girl murmured with her clothes partially off. She made a face with just the slightest bit of reluctance and embarrassment. It was the first time I saw her with that expression. In the cramped car, the 2 of us faced our backs to each other. How about it? Feel good, doesn't it? It was just turning totally dark and the interior was dimly lit. The glass right in front of me reflected the image of myself wiping my body, and further past my figure it reflected the figure of the girl behind my back. Just like me, she had taken off her top and was wiping herself. Without intending to, I saw her. A large scar on her chest could be seen. Most likely there were scars from the surgery. I didn't know the details, but it was larger than mine.
ねえあなた
What is it?
そんなに珍しい
From beyond my back, words directed towards my figure reflected in the glass. Under the cloudy sky, the silver coupe ran on. As always, it continued to run with no destination, and looking back, 3 days had passed. In that span, nothing particularly special had happened. To be really particular, along the way we found a practically free open-air bath. There wasn't really many people around, so at the least we managed to take a bath. Other than that, we were towards the bottom of our money, and once again, towards the bottom of our gas tank. Have you gotten a bit tired of it?
別に
The two of us, while eating convenience store, Storinigiri, changed words. Compared to the food on the 7th floor, it might have been better, but even then, after eating only this for a number of days, it was looking boring. However, even this kind of food, considering our money, would probably end in a few more trips to the
音
store.
がうるさい
Gonna take a nap. Thanks for the stream. Thanks for being here, Felix. I hope you have a great nap. Huh? What's this all of a sudden?
車の音前より
Oh, now that you say, it really has. Most likely the cause was the time we fled from the pachinko parlor a few days ago, when the muffler was hit. I hadn't been worrying about it, but certainly the sound of the car had gotten a bit louder. Well, it probably wasn't going to get in the way of driving. And before that, the problem right before us was gasoline. The meter had been pointing at empty, and we had been running like that for 5 minutes. And our money right now amounted to 900 yen. With that, unlike last time, it was clearly not enough. If we totally ran out of gas, then there would be probably nothing that we could do. Making a decision, I pulled into a gas station, and moreover looked for a self-service station. Soon I found one, pulled the car to stop, and at the closest pump out of the many lined up. I'll get some gas. But don't get out of the car. There's no reply, however she probably also understood what that meant. We're gonna steal some gas. Opening the car's gas cap, I put the gasoline by imitating others. In the area was one other customer in the back with a building with vending machines. I could also see someone look like a clerk. Most likely that was where one paid the bill. Looking at the explanatory plate on the wall, it seemed that after filling up, one would take out the receipt over there. In that case, we could just drive off and run away. While looking around the quiet gas station, that's what I felt. 23, 24, 25, 26. The numbers on the meter showing the amount of gas pumped. Unlike before, I thought it was going very slowly. Felt very irritated while waiting for the tank to fill. And then passing 40 liters just when the tank was about to fill. Welcome! The clerk that seemed to be the part-timer had been in the building until now for some reason ran over here. Ashtray, tire pressure, are they all fine? Yes, they're fine. See, if so, it's cold. Please be careful. And perhaps tended to be at service. The clerk started cleaning the windows. As that was happening, the pump announced the tank was full, and with a business-like sound spat out the receipt. Please make your payment over there. Pausing from the washing the windows, the clerk pointed at the building from before. Silently, I held the receipt. Unable to think of what to do, I wound up standing still. Something the matter, sir? No, nothing. The moment I went back inside the car, and then I just started up the engine. What should I do? Part-time clerk was starting to clean the rear window now. Right now, if I just slammed on the accelerator. However, without it, the license plate would be noted down. If there was an investigator, we would easily be caught. However, in order to run here, I made the decision and firmly stepped on the clutch. Then as I was swinging out of neutral gear in a second,
はい
suddenly the girl took out an envelope. From inside, she took out a 10,000 yen bill and held it out to me. You had money? I had been convinced she had none. If that were the case, I wouldn't have gone through all that trouble up till now. Why didn't you say anything?
あなた聞いた
No, that's...
聞かれなかったからよ
With just that answer, once again, as usual, she faced the window. Once again, the coupe ran on. For now, we had a full tank of gas. Moreover, I had also received a 5,000 yen bill as change. But for me, I was more interested about what happened just before. Hey, Suyu. Here, this is all of it. Huh? Before I could speak, the girl offered me the envelope from before just like that. It's okay if I use this?
別にいいわよ。
Looking inside the envelope I received, there were still 4 10,000 yen bills. With that, we would probably be fine for a while. However, I was more concerned about something else. Why had the girl so much money? At the least a few thousand yen I had from the start was just what I had been carrying around when we left. However, in this girl's case, it felt like she'd been prepared in advance. Hey, you. Before, you said you didn't like the 7th floor,
家
right?
だって嫌よ。
Ah, I'm the same way. And you're planning on going somewhere? This is the money for that purpose, isn't it? Then I remembered the girl's words from before. She had said she would go somewhere when she was still able to move on her own. Asked me whether I wanted to stop her or go with her. Then you really did some place you want to go to. Can't understand if you say no particularly.
どこもないわよ。
Just that, looking lonely, she sadly murmured. Then she was, without a destination, but still picturing someday in the future, simply preparing for it all this time alone. I was concerned why she'd been doing such an empty thing, but since the girl's lonely profile was confirming that.
あなたはどうなのよ。
Even me, not
真似
particularly.
しないでよ。
I'm not imitating you. We continued driving without a destination. I, who impulsively flew from the 7th floor, and the girl who didn't have a place to go, but Holly only continued to prepare. However, right now it doesn't matter where, I just want to go somewhere. The least for me, I wanted something to give me direction. Well, how about that Wajishima place we talked about before? With the money we have now, it's definitely enough to go. I was sure that any place would have been fine, even the 7th floor, even someplace not home, so long as we could continue going. However, I just didn't want to wander around aimlessly. I think I wanted a goal, it didn't matter what. Don't you think about wanting to go too?
別に。
Just that answer, once again she turned over to gaze out the window like she usually did. As always, her eyes seemed to be looking at something far away. Just what on earth is she looking at, I wonder? What was she thinking? What was she expecting? When she came here, I wonder. Nice! Okay, I'm gonna save there.